Educator Barnes here, and I want to talk a little bit today about when teachers cause trauma to students. Currently, I'm enrolled in the doctoral program. I am in my third doctoral course, and we had this assignment. Now, out of everything I have to do for this particular class, this assignment should be the easiest assignment to do because it's not the annotated bibliography, it's not a research paper. It's simply to put together this multimodal literacy narrative. And essentially what we had to do was use music, photos, things that are really not words. You can use poetry and a few words here or there to trace your literacy narrative, how you learn literacy from the beginning of your life up through now, and you can put it together however you want it. And I remember being really frustrated because I didn't want to do this assignment, because when I think about literacy and when I think about school, I have some negative experiences that were caused by teachers. And so for a nanosecond, I honestly thought about just making some stuff up, because one of the things I know, if any of my students are watching, and when you ask students to write a story, like a true story about themselves, and they're like, I don't want to write, and I'm like, I'm not going to know if it's true or not. Just write something, because you have to do this assignment. And so I said that to myself, and I'm like, no, I'm doing this work, I'm in this doctoral program, and I really need to take a tough look at it, because if it's tough for me to even want to talk about it, because we had to share it online, and then we had to give feedback. And so if I knew it was just tough for me to sit down and kind of grapple with it and put it together, it's probably an important moment that I should share, and it's something that we need to think about in regards to how we interact with students. So I start off by really tracking. My project was actually titled Duo Me, and I looked at my literacy narrative over the course of my life thus far as me being in two buckets. You have like me, the academic, me in school, and then you have me outside of school, how I'm interacting with literacy, and how these two worlds keep clashing and how it's not really accepted. But at the beginning of my narrative, I start with at home, and I start with going to school. So it is 1988, and I enter kindergarten, and it's a negative experience. I show up to kindergarten, and the teacher, we're passing around blow up little letters. We're saying the alphabet, we're learning the numbers 1 through 10, and I'm just really confused, so I don't really say much at all at school. And then the teacher starts taking me and a few other students, and we go into the coat closet. Well, this is like an old school, so it's like one of those full walk-in coat closets. And the teacher, there was like a second teacher, and there was a table in the middle, and I'm in here, and so now we're not even doing what everyone else is doing. We're doing like the same thing, but even slower. And I'm like, why am I here? And so, it's half day kindergarten, because at the time, full day kindergarten hadn't been, it wasn't a thing yet. At least it wasn't like a mandated thing in Indiana. And so parents are asking how school is. And at some point in time, I said, yeah, I had class in the closet. And my mom was like, what do you mean you had class in the closet? And I said, yeah, I go to the closet and have class. And so it was just odd. So you already know, at the time my mom was not working. So she's like, let me go up to the school and see about this. My dad is aware of this, and they're just like really confused. And so long story short, my parents go up to the school with me and say, Shantae saying that she's like in the closet, like what is she talking about? And then the teacher's like, oh yeah, and they kind of almost talking down to my parents about like how dumb I am. And immediately I get to see my parents are frustrated because I showed up to kindergarten reading, writing, and doing math. So I was quiet in school because I was just confused as a 5-year-old. Like, why am I going to this place? Like, I don't understand this place called school. Why am I here? Because I already know these things. And so now, kindergarten, you're expected to do those things. But when I was in kindergarten, all we were supposed to do was learn the ABCs, count to 10, and it was a lot of playing and little stations. I remember we had the art station, then we had like the house station, we had like the block station, there was the puzzle station, there was the painting station. You took your little nap, because I did AM kindergarten, and you went home. And so I showed up to kindergarten way past all of that stuff, and so I was more quiet, but it gave me a negative experience in school. So I went from being a quiet kid in kindergarten to going to first grade and being even quieter because I'm like, what's the point? Because the teacher thinks I'm stupid. These white teachers I have just automatically assume that I was stupid, and it took my parents showing up and just be like, hey, write your name. Hey, read this. And so now the teacher sees that I know way more than anybody in the class, and I just never, like, kindergarten was just not, it was not a good experience to me. And sometimes when it comes to education, when I've been coaching teachers, when I've been in classrooms, I see statements and I see the way teachers interact with certain students, in particular students of color. If I want to narrow in even more, I would say black boys of color. And there are these assumptions made, there are these interactions made, and then when parents get involved, instead of asking questions, it's even more of the your child can and your child has these problems and you don't even know anything about the child, you don't know anything about the background. Before I was even sectioned off to the closet for the special needs children, there was never a phone call made home. Had my parents not been the type of parents that asked me, what did you do at school today? My parents would have never known. I would have been segregated that entire school year. And so I think about kids that I know that get sent off. They don't have an IEP. They don't have a 504. And they're being sent off, sent out of the room time and time again. And if the parent's not involved, the parent never knows about it. And so you're showing up to school as a black child and you're being traumatized day in, day out, all day long.